All right, hola. Hoy vamos a hablar un poco sobre el tiempo o el clima, ideas culturales sobre el tiempo, por ejemplo, Fahrenheit versus Celsius, and so on, nacionalidades y el clima o temperatura de hoy en otro país. Clima, ¿qué tiempo hace? Or clima. What's the weather? What's the climate? They're separate things, but they're very connected, right? One's the longer term vision, one's the like weather of the day versus the climate. How's the climate? El climático, el cambio climático. We could certainly talk about that. But today we're going to focus more on how do I use this in the Spanish language and how do I talk about it? There's some interesting things about weather that are in terms of grammar that are kind of unique. And so we'll talk about those as well in terms of like, what verb do I use? So question number one, ¿qué tiempo hace? So it means right there, what's the weather like or how's the weather? So if you look at the thermometer here, hace calor o está caloroso. So notice it says hace. We're going to use that word. We're going to pronounce it without the H, but we're going to spell it with the H. Hace calor. That's super common to say. Está caloroso. You could say that too. All right, ¿qué tiempo hace? Aquí, hace frío. No hace, you could do a negative. No hace calor. All right, ¿qué tiempo hace? We're asking the same question. Hace sol, or o, in español, o, está soleado. So there's two possibilities. Could you say, for example, can you put this word with this one and this word with this one? No. Está sol or hace soleado? No. I mean, it's not like the worst thing on the planet for sure, but it's just done this way. It makes sun or it is sunny. It makes sun is very common, super common. Hace sol, like hace frío from the one prior. ¿Qué tiempo hace? And so we have hand motions. Hace sol here. And then we're going to say our answer. Hace, it makes viento. Viento, the V is a B as a boy sound. So hace viento, like that. ¿Qué tiempo hace? So viento implies sometimes nubes, but not always, right? So these things here are called nubes. So again, I'm going to write that on here. Hay unas nubes is a feminine word. Las nubes. So there they are, nubes over there versus sol. And then with this one, we're going to write we're going to say, ¿cómo se dice? It's cloudy. There are clouds. There's two options. Está nublado, it is cloudy, or hay, like your eye on your face, but it means there are. So with clouds, let's go back here a minute. So the word hay is a verb. So hay is there is / there are. It's pronounced like I. So hay nubes or está nublado. All right, moving along. ¿Qué tiempo hace? Está despejado. No hay nubes. So how might we say there are not clouds? We just put the no in front. No hay nubes. Right? And Arizona, etc. Right? Hace sol. Hace sol. Nubes? No hay nubes en el cielo. Doesn't mean it couldn't be windy. Hace viento, es posible, pero no hay nubes en el cielo. No hay nubes, sino, but rather, sino means but rather, está soleado. ¿Qué tiempo hace? What's the weather like here? Está nevando, nieva. So nevar can stand on its own. It's a verb. It comes from the verb nevar. And so nevar is a stem changing verb. And so with nevar, right, we take the A and we turn it to an IE and it becomes nieve. And then we add the A because it's doing the action. It makes snow, right? Or it is snowing. So está nevando, the ando ending is the snowing part. If it is not snowing, we simply put the no, the word no, right here. No está nevando. What else could we say? Oh, we could absolutely say hace frío. We could say what's not doing. No hace sol. If it's snowing, it's usually not sunny. I mean, there's sometimes moments of sun, but, or no hace calor. Hace calor? No. Hace sol? No, or no mucho. Nieva? Sí, nieva. Like that. All right, ¿qué tiempo hace? Nieva, hace viento, hay nubes. Ah, sí, hay nubes. There's nubes. Hay muchas nubes. In fact, so many nubes that we've got this water from the sky. And hace frío. Es posible, pero no mucho frío cuando nieva. Llueve. So in this case, en este caso, llueve comes from the verb llover. This is also a stem changing verb like nevar was. So llover, the O turns to a UE. And so it becomes llueve, and it's about it. It's an ER verb. So it's not llueva, it's llueve. You might say llueva, but that's a different sentence like ojalá que llueva. That's a subjunctive statement. That just simply means I hope it rains. And that's just something that you might hear. We can talk about that grammatically later. But anyway, here, llueve or está lloviendo. It is raining. The ing here, this thing here is called the present progressive. So we need both verbs. It is, and then the ing would be the iendo or ando if it was, say, like nevando, if it was an AR verb, or snowing, but this is raining. Okay, so these are just some terms. La lluvia is the rain. This is a noun. This is not a verb. So you say, me gusta la lluvia, or no me gusta la lluvia. Hace fresco. So remember, we've got hace sol, hace frío, hace calor. In the middle of hace frío and hace calor, hace fresco. It makes coolness. It makes brisk. We don't say it quite like that in English, but it's cool. It's brisk, right? No hace, so you could say negative in here. You could say something like, hace calor. Hang on. Hace calor? No. Hace frío? No. So hace fresco. For some people, es perfecto, right? And so on. Okay. So this is another option for us. Hace fresco. All right, hace buen tiempo. Again, opinions, right? Hace buen tiempo o hace mal tiempo. Hace fresco, hace frío, hace calor. So it depends on what people like, but hace buen tiempo, it makes good temperature. ¿Qué tiempo hace? Here, we could pause our video for a moment, but you say, hace mal tiempo. Hay una tormenta. Oops, hang on. Let me talk about this just for a moment. So here we could add on to this. We could say, for example, hay una tormenta. Hay relámpagos. Relámpagos. Hay trueno, right? Hace mal tiempo. Oh, I already wrote that. Hace mal tiempo. That's on the bottom. Hay lluvia or llueve. I bet it's windy. Hace viento. You could say it's really windy. Fine. Hace mucho viento. Es peligroso, right? Dangerous, perhaps. So here, notice that we are saying different verbs. So that's what we're going to talk about next is, how do we know to say I or hace or es, or to have it on its own verb? What is it that we're going to do as a non-native Spanish speaker to help ourselves figure that part out? So as a non-native Spanish speaker myself, what I did is I created a little chart, and I say, okay, with the verb hacer, which means to do or to make, it makes heat, it makes sun, etc. So I created my own little chart. To do or make is hacer. And so I said, okay, great. So what goes with hacer? Hace sol, hace frío, hace calor, hace viento, hace fresco, hace buen tiempo, hace mal tiempo. I means there is or there are. So there is, there are. And so usually it's like a noun afterwards. So there is, this is a verb, right? It's conjugated already. There are, hay nubes en el cielo, hay una tormenta o una tormenta eléctrica, hay unos relámpagos, trueno, boom, right? Huracán, un tornado. So some verbs stand on their own. Nevar and llover, you don't say hace nieva. You don't say hace llueve. You simply say nieva, llueve. Those come from nevar or llover, respectively. Sometimes you can say the verb estar because it's a temporary situation. So we would say está soleado is the, can you say hace sol and está soleado? They're the same idea. Sure. Could you say llueve instead of está lloviendo? Absolutely. But you're conjugating, when you're doing estar, you're conjugating it to está something. Sometimes those are called the present progressive, with the yendo, ando, like these two have it. Only these two. There's only two of them here. Right here, lloviendo, nevando. This one, I don't know, let's put it in a different, I'll circle it, let's say. So soleado here, nublado here. Notice it's got an ado or oso ending. So these are called past participles as a language person, if you're into grammar stuff. So those are different, right? And so these here have, so these here have this whole ado, ido, oso ending. So está caloroso, it is hot. Está despejado, no hay nubes, nada, despejado. Nublado, está nublado, or no está nublado. You can make a negative out of that too. But the thing is with this little chart, for me, it was helpful to say, okay, there's certain times when I say this and certain times when I say the other verb. And I'm just trying to figure it out. And hand motions totally help. So hace sol, hace frío, hace calor, hace fresco, hace viento, llueve, nieva, hace buen tiempo, hace mal tiempo. Our body likes repetition. Our mind connects sometimes when our body does something. And so it's just a way for your mind to get kind of connected, even though you might say, that's not my deal. I'm not going to do that. It's up to you, but it does help some people for sure. Okay, so let's do a little practice with this. So vamos a ver unas fotos. Déjame saber si la información que te doy es cierto o falso, según according to la foto. So cierto or falso? Falso. I would say to you, hace calor, and you'd say cierto. Hace calor. If I said hace frío, you'd say no, no, no. No hace frío, hace calor, or está caloroso. All right, cierto o falso. Hace mal tiempo. You probably say, bueno, es opinión. I'd say, bueno, sí, pero en general hace buen tiempo. So, falso. No hace mal tiempo, hace buen tiempo. Cierto o falso. Nieva o no nieva. Cierto, nieva. Sí, sí, nieva. It's snowing. All right, cierto o falso. Hay nubes. Está nublado. Falso. We're going to say, está despejado. Está soleado. Hace sol. No hay nubes. No está nublado. All right. En las siguientes fotos, tell me which is true. Hay una tormenta o hace buen tiempo. We're going to say, hay una tormenta. Here we are in Cabo San Lucas in Mexico, in Baja. All right. Está, so which of these is true? Nieva or está nevando? Hace frío, hace sol. Those two are true. Nieva, hace sol. You can also say está nevando. All right. Here's a photo. Hace mucho viento. It's a little bit hard to distinguish this, but do your best, right? Don't read it into it too much. Estás soleado y estás despejado. Estás soleado. Mucho sol. Lo siento. Estás soleado or hace sol. Nubes? No, no hay nubes. All right, next one. So, ¿qué pasa aquí? Hace mucho calor. Hace fresco y viento. We're going to go with that one. Hace fresco. So check out what people are wearing. Some people are wearing shorts or whatever, but also lots of sweaters, bufandas, unos suéteres. Entonces, hace fresco, hace mucho viento. If it's a little windy, poco viento. ¿Qué tiempo hace aquí? ¿Está lloviendo? ¿Hace buen tiempo? ¿Hace sol? Yeah, hace buen tiempo, hace sol. ¿Hace viento? Es difícil, no sé, pero bueno, ¿hace poco tiempo? ¿Hace poco viento o no hace viento? No sé. All right, ¿qué tiempo hace aquí? ¿Hay un tornado? ¿Hay relámpagos? ¿Hace mal tiempo? So we're going to say sí, sí. And is it mal tiempo o buen tiempo? Hace mal tiempo. Relámpagos. Remember, this is a relámpago. There's a tornado. Lots of crazy stuff happening there. All right. And then, so here's our little cultural activity part. ¿Qué tiempo hace? Nota cultural. En los Estados Unidos se usa la escala Fahrenheit, pero en el resto del mundo se usa la escala Fahrenheit. No, se usa la escala Celsius, right? So if we know that, so we'd say, so how do we talk about that? We say if it's 70 degrees outside Fahrenheit, we say hace 70 grados Fahrenheit. And we have to do our little conversion in our head and say, oh yeah, 70 degrees Celsius is very hot. So that's not it. So anyway, but if we're going to say it's 30 degrees Celsius, right? Something like that. Then that's not necessarily the answer to 70 degrees Fahrenheit, but you'd say, la temperatura está a 30 grados Celsius o 70 grados Fahrenheit. So we can say Celsius, Fahrenheit, like that. So, hablamos del tiempo y del clima, expresiones y verbos, hace, hay, estar, Fahrenheit versus Celsius. So let's expand this just a little bit more and look at the map here. This is not the entire world, obviously, but remind yourself that the equator, Ecuador, is called equator. So Ecuador is right on that. So that means equator. And there are two parts. So we've got the northern hemisphere, the southern hemisphere. And when it's el verano here in the northern part, it's el invierno, winter, in the southern part. So we got to remember that as people approach, different conversations around weather in the world. So we connected with los meses. ¿Cuáles meses tiene el verano? El verano en el northern hemisphere, right? En el norte, son junio, julio, agosto, right? Notice it's not capitalized. Los meses en el otoño in the northern hemisphere. Tiene el otoño, septiembre, octubre, noviembre. Oh, and el invierno, remember that winter has an I in it, so does in English, and so as it does in Spanish. And el invierno in the northern hemisphere, diciembre, enero is the weird one because it looks very different. The other ones kind of look sort of like the English translation, and febrero. All right, and then finally, ¿cuáles meses tiene la primavera? This also has an I, and you might say, well, this has an I, but usually primavera, people don't get that mixed up with, am I saying, is it verano or is it invierno? Those are the two that oftentimes get mixed up. So anyway, marzo, abril, mayo. It's not mayo, but rather mayo. So then we've got estaciones, el invierno, primavera. And this is the feminine word, el verano. These are all, the rest of these are masculine, el otoño. And so that's our slideshow and information for weather, seasons. And so just to recap, you would say, hace sol, está soleado, hace frío, hace calor, or está caloroso, hace fresco, hace viento, hace mucho viento versus hace poco viento, llueve or está lloviendo, nieva or está nevando, y también hace sol, hace buen tiempo, hace mal tiempo, hay nubes, or está nublado. Hopefully this was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. Gracias.